Agile software development. It started off as a pretty good idea when 17 men got together at a ski resort. I wish I was making this up. And wrote the Agile Manifesto. But now we're finding ourselves in the world of certified Scrum Masters, daily stand ups that take hours and nobody is standing up anymore, and the scaled Agile framework tailored to the needs of large enterprises. As you might have guessed, I have a few beefs with agile software development, and I'm not the only one. Even the 17 men who wrote the original manifesto have problems with the way we practice agile. The way it is practiced treats people, developers, as robots that are just there to deliver business value. It has no regard for human seasonality, human nature, and sees no value in stopping to reflect what it is that we're actually delivering. Especially now that we're including artificial intelligence in our products, it would actually not be a bad idea to just pause for a moment, but there's no room for pause and reflection and ethical debate in modern agile. You're constantly just sprinting. And yes, there are sprint planning sessions where we write user stories and pretend that we know what our users want, and we think of our users, which is a horrible word by the way, as if they are constantly thinking about software and want to get things done instead of fully fledged humans that don't really care about our software and just want to go about their lives. The parody account Shit User Stories is actually closer to how user stories actually get written in most contexts, because we all know we're under pressure to deliver. You see features that are missing from your product, so you write a user story that essentially, yeah, tells a story of why a user would want something that you really want to add to your product. And you find yourself constantly having to justify what you see is wrong with your product with some user need that might or might not exist. And that kind of reduces our creativity as well. All this constant sprinting is just exhausting. And honestly, I think it makes you stupid because you're constantly have deadlines, you're constantly under pressure to deliver, and I think it's just a distraction. I see this as modern software development theater that actually reduces the role and importance of developers to just code monkeys, essentially, that have to build and write web forms all over again. I think that's part of the reason why a lot of software developers end up wasting time arguing about which latest JavaScript framework is the best, rather than thinking about the impact of their job and thinking about ethical issues that their software, the product they're working on, potentially has. It also increasingly delegates responsibility and ethics discussions to the design phase. So designers are kind of now waking up to their responsibility they have to the world, to people, and they have a lot of methodologies that, at least on paper, put people first, and they are now increasingly taking ownership of ethics as well. And I think it's a waste of human potential when we don't include developers and engineers in these debates, because I think developers and engineers are more than code monkeys. By the time that user stories make it to the product backlog, all the important discussions were already had, and now it's chop chop, time to meet the deadline for the next sprint. We have to maximize our delivery, our output, our productivity, so the bosses will be happy with us. And obviously, I think that's a flawed approach and a real waste of human potential. So what can we do about it? There's an interesting book called Developer Hegemony by Erik Dietrich that tells a story of what developers taking ownership in an agile world might look like, although I don't think that approach would be suited for everyone. I think it's important for developers and engineers to speak up, take their seat at the table when ethical discussions are being had, and to show that, yes, developers and engineers are capable of thinking about these big issues and are concerned about the impact their work has on people and the planet. Maybe not all of them, but I know a lot of developers who think about these things and would like to contribute more, but they're boxed into their developer role and ask only to rewrite web forms. Why? I have no idea. Recently, I read an interesting article on how CHANI, an astrology app, is rethinking the way they run their tech company. And I found this passage from Milka Halili especially interesting because, as head of engineering, they essentially ordered their team to take a break during the company wide summer break because they realized that a team that is well rested will actually be smarter and do better work. So I think it's also up to us collectively to try to imagine, discuss, and think of different ways of doing agile that has rest built in, and not just rest and aimlessly wandering about, although that can be great too, but also space for ethical debates and for discussing the impact our job has. Now, that can only be done, obviously, if leadership and management acknowledges the importance of this soft work and soft skills, right? If you're being pressured to always be sprinting, always be delivering business value and whatnot, you obviously will not feel like you have a choice and the freedom and the autonomy to take a break and to take the time to think about the impact of your work. So this starts with leadership. Now, obviously, if you're a junior developer, it might be more difficult for you to speak up, but you can still have these conversations. And for those of us who've been in the industry for longer, it's especially important. And I would say our responsibility to start these discussions and to start questioning the way we develop software. And I would love to hear more examples about how software development can be developed in a less insane pace without this constant sprinting and pressuring that reduces developers to essentially code monkeys. So if you have any good examples, please let me know in the comments.